on this recording on this here. Okay. Let's see. So I'll like act like I'm the host. Hello, this is Matt Reddy, and I'm here with Doro Kiley, and we're going to talk. I'll improve that introduction. All right, you ready?
Ready.
Okay. Have you heard the latest alien disclosure news?
Well, I have not. And first of all, thank you for inviting me to have this discussion. Is my favorite topic. So yeah, no, I haven't heard. Let's jump into that. What's up?
Well, I mean, do you want to introduce yourself at all and just say or do you just want to jump in? We could just jump straight in and people will figure it
Well,
out.
just for your listeners, okay. So I'm Doro Kiley, and my website is Creation Coach. I'm a life coach. I've been coaching for over 20 years and working with people who are envisioning a very wonderful future, considering what we're going through right now with current events. We're trying to uplift that energy, but yeah, talking aliens is a big part of what might be happening. So now I'm ready to jump in.
Okay. Uh, well, it's yeah, and I'm Matt Reddy, and the co-host of another podcast called Beyond Humanity with Margaret Ho and myself. And I've also had the podcast The Mindful Activist, and that's enough about me. Okay. So it is so great you have not heard this yet.
Can't wait.
It really is. Okay. So let's see. Basically this guy who was, when Congress created the first office to try to figure out if UFOs and UAPs were real. They put this guy, I think his name is David Grusch, in charge of the research, or I guess the Pentagon put him in charge, but he has come forward this week on this station called News Nation. It's not out on CNN and mainstream. It's only, but an article was published this week, and an interview with him was published, and he's basically come out and said the U.S. has for decades been hiding UFO craft and technology, alien aircraft and technology. And this guy he used to give the presidential briefing on a daily basis to the president. And this guy is a super trusted, highly credentialed insider. He says he was assigned by the Pentagon and Congress to research this. He found the program, the crash retrieval program, through people telling him in interviews and documentation. He found the program, and then he was denied access to it, and the whole Arrow or team was denied access to it. And so he has filed a whistleblower complaint, and it says that basically these crashed alien technology, these craft ships, have been hidden for decades, and it has not been told to Congress or the president for decades. And he says it's been a decades-long disinformation campaign against the American people and other people. He didn't quite say this. The whistleblower didn't quite say this, but Ross Coulthart, who interviewed him for 7 hours, and the parts of the interview are dripping out. He has said, this disinformation campaign that the U.S. has been doing is illegal. It's illegal by clear laws that are established about what the U.S. government can do. It is quite a problem if they've been purposely misinforming the American people and Congress and the president. And so this is just starting to crack through. It's like on YouTube. It's only on this News Nation channel, and Fox News has started to cover it. They started to jump on, but they're just dipping their toes into it. But it is like serious confirmation, basically, that Bob Lazar was telling the truth back in the 80s when he said the U.S. is in possession of craft and has been hiding it. And so it's like people are I'm just like watching these news channels, seeing these people try to process this and try to talk about it. It's fascinating. There's people that believe it, and then there's all these skeptics, and it's kind of hilarious watching them sort of process this information and try to reject it. They just try to
So
reject it. Yeah,
yeah, can you spell his name? David Grusch or Krusch? How did you
uh,
what's that name? Just so I
yeah,
can do my own little research.
absolutely. David, yeah. If you search for Grusch, David Grusch,
SCH. Okay, yeah, good.
he's a whistleblower. You'll find articles, and yeah, the big one is the debrief article. That's sort of like the one that just sort of like drops the hammer. I mean, and they also confirmed, they got other intelligence people have confirmed they agree with what Grush is saying. They've said, yes, we have exotic materials and we are not alone. I mean, they basically are, they are allowed, they're saying we are not alone. They are not saying who's here. They're not saying what the agenda is or what the agreement, but they are, it is, and Congress is going to call for hearings. They've already said they're going to call for hearings to discuss this. And the inspector general said that the whistleblower complaint he filed is like urgent and credible, and has
Ooh,
like referred it to Congress. It's like the chips are rolling with this at the moment. So that's what I wanted to share with you.
this is huge. Are they giving any indication? Is this just like one species or two aliens? I mean, what and who? Do they have anything to say about that?
So Ross Coulthart interviewed Grush for 7 hours, and they are dripping out pieces of the interview over this week. The big 1 hour sharing of the interview is on Sunday. So they haven't even like released Sunday. We might find out fully what Grush is saying, but they do have him saying that Coulthard asks him, "Are there bodies? Are there alien bodies?" And he said, "Sometimes when these ships crash, there are bodies recovered." And that's
Mm.
all we've gotten so far from. And he says he has not seen pictures of them. He has not. But he's talked to people who has seen these things directly. Um, so
This
it's
this is on Sunday, you say? They're going to
Monday.
have a. So can you
Monday.
post those links in the comments below if possible?
Yeah, actually, you mean the
Description.
links to the little video clips?
Yeah, yeah.
Yep. Yeah, and if you go to my Twitter feed, Meditation Matt, I've been posting links and quotes and stuff like crazy for the last 24 hours. So every time I get a decent and so newscast or something, I post a link on my Twitter feed. But I will, hey, wait, do you want me to paste them right here now so you can look
No,
them up?
no, that's fine. I'll check it out later on. But so what's the name of your Twitter feed again?
Meditation Matt.
Meditation Matt. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll check that out too. Wow. So they're getting bodies, but okay, so that does that give any information about what kind of species they are?
I have not heard from Grush, uh, from his report. I have not heard yet him describe what types of aliens uh, this involves. So
Mm,
that might be in the interview, but that piece has not come out yet.
mm, wow. Where is this going to go?
Yeah.
What is his I mean, for this disclosure to be happening now, is there kind of a is this a forced disclosure or is there a reason why this is being disclosed at this point?
Well, Grush says that, and Coulthard says this too. He thinks that he has forced the hand of the Pentagon to allow him to do this because they actually gave him permission to speak because he filed his complaint to them and said I want to say this publicly and gave them the opportunity to and they did give him restrictions on what he could say. They said he couldn't share any of the materials he had, photos and stuff like that, but he could talk. And so the Pentagon is clearly allowing this to happen, but he says he was going to go public whether they allowed him or not. So they kind of had to allow him, which is kind of similar to what happened with the pilot Graves. He said he went to testify to Congress, and at the last second, the military sort of called him in and said, "Okay, we want you to do this as our representative." And they said, "Put your uniform back on." And so that would they kind of like so there seems to be a reluctant cooperation with the Pentagon and these disclosures.
Well, it kind of brings up a question in my mind, because I've heard for years now that might be, and of course we're, to slip into the conspiracy rabbit hole for a second, that there's this thing called the Project Blue Beam. Have you heard of that, Matt?
Only a little bit, but please. Uh,
Yeah, I don't know much about it, but I'm just, if your listeners look it up, it's Project Blue Beam, and that is supposedly, it's a great little story from what I gather. That for decades now, the Pentagon has been planning a an alien invasion, and using the technologies that we have now to make it look like these massive holographic images in the sky, can actually fabricate an alien invasion. And the purpose being is to basically terrify humanity into working together. As you know, it's like Earthlings against Martians or whatever. And this supposedly has been in the works for a very long time, just developing the technologies to pull it off. So whenever I hear things about anything coming out of the Pentagon, I tend to look at it with curiosity rather than jump in and just be afraid or take it as fact. Um, so I just think it would be good for everybody to know that we are going to have a hard time deciphering what's real and what's not real. And I think that's in everything from here on out, with the deep fakes and the technology. Aliens, I certainly believe they're here. I think they've always been here. And they probably are coming back. So it's going to be impossible to know if what's happening is really happening. But I want to hear more about this interview. I mean, they must have covered in 7 hours a tremendous amount of information. Um, so yeah, go ahead. What else is happening in that
well,
interview?
let's see. Well, like I said, we haven't gotten all the information from the 7 hour interview yet. We've just sort of gotten sort of an outline. And apparently, this guy was interviewed by Congress in classified briefing for like 11 hours. Um, and he's named names and given them materials of what the code names of the projects are. And I mean, they're giving the impression that Congress now it's in their hands and they pretty much are tasked with researching this to validate whether or not it's true or not. And it's so it, so we might over the next few weeks start to have this story sort of ripped open, really revealing who and what parts of the government have been part of this cover up because they're talking about it as a so there's that dimension. One dimension is this there is a cover up, a deception, a disinformation campaign, and there's going to be some people that, some people might even think have committed crimes that should be prosecuted. So there's going to be a sort of a scandalous aspect of this as we move forward. Besides the whole, what does it mean for humanity? What is the relationship between aliens and humans? That is really the big question. Um, yeah,
What
and
do
then I
you
have,
what
I have some theories about it. But do you
Yeah, I
have?
was just going to ask you what are your theories? I mean, it seems like at this point all we can do is speculate. Um, so what is your theory?
Well, my first theory is that they're lying about this being a crash retrieval program because that's the story he's giving that the and because he's asked during the interview how many crafts has the U.S. gotten from aliens, gotten recovered, and he says quite a number of craft, and some are in fully intact. And they're also leaking this weird thing about many of them were just landed safely and were abandoned. That's like that's like so that's their story. And I think what we're going to find out, my theory is that he said quite a number of craft. Bob Lazar said they had like 9 craft at Area 51 back in the 80s. So my theory is that it's not a crash retrieval program. It's a craft a gifting program. It's a transaction between aliens and this group of humans. They've been getting alien technology since, I think, Eisenhower, who apparently had made a treaty with aliens about alien technology, and this would be the remnants of that. Maybe they pretend to have a crash retrieval program that for UFOs, because that's covers up the fact they have a once in a while they have to go pick up, alien craft as part of their, regular maintenance of this treaty, because maybe the aliens just give us one alien craft a year or something, or 10 a month, who knows.
Yeah.
And we might find out as this goes on, because he didn't answer that question. If he says we have over 1,000 alien craft, then this crash retrieval story is going to start to sound ridiculous. 1,000 alien, super advanced alien spacecraft don't crash on Earth
No.
enough to keep a military program open to watch for them. That does not make
Mm.
sense.
That is very interesting. Can you tie this into, are you familiar with the work of Zachariah Sitchin and what, I guess Graham Hancock is doing some investigating, and these ancient megalithic structures of ancient past that we have no clear understanding of. All we have are Sumerian tablets and Babylonian and ancient Egypt. Before Egypt, it was Kemet, something like that. And so there are stories even going from way back then about these gods from heaven came down to earth, and it's pretty clear that these were not gods. These were some beings from other dimensions or planets. So have you delved too much into, or any into that? And if so, how would you put all these pieces together?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, when I started to realize that this story of UFOs and aliens was credible, it made me reevaluate all of human history. And the first question was, how far back have UFO sightings and supposed stories of alien interactions happened? And you quickly find it didn't start at Roswell, although something started at sort of during that time in US history, but the sightings and interactions with aliens goes back to way past our history. And yeah, the Sumerian tablets. And there seems to be a very interesting, different story of human history that needs to be told and really studied. I mean, we just need to really remap out everything we've thought about history, just assuming there were unseen advanced aliens involved here, possibly pretending to be things they were not. They might have been pretending to be human, they might have been pretending to be gods, but there's a lot of evidence they were involved. I mean, just the fact, the megalithic stone carvings of Egypt. I mean, we still cannot replicate the type of intricate carving of granite that they did back then. I mean, we need like lasers and super advanced, computer guided drills to do what they did back then. I mean, I suppose you could do it with really nice steel and chisels and cranes capable of picking up 900-ton stones. But
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think that they had that kind of, I think they had higher technologies than that. That's my personal view. And there's a lot of, who is it that's talking about this? It might be Greg Braden or someone talking about this understanding that possibly what they were doing was elevating these huge structures with some sound technology that we've lost. You hear that a lot, that
yeah.
it was done through sound. So just curious. Yeah, this is a huge subject. Now, the way I'm understanding it, and this is tied in with all kinds of the Emerald Tablets and the mystery teachings and all this. It goes way back, supposedly beginning 200,000 years ago, where the gods came down to mine this planet for its resources, gold and what have you, because they required something for their planet. I don't know what their purpose was. Um, so they came down and they worked this planet for a long time, and then they decided that they didn't like the work, and they were going to take a species here on this planet and create a worker. And so then that's supposedly the story that comes out of the tablets, that they actually created, they took like a hominid that was here, that was already evolving, and intermingled some of their DNA in with our DNA and created us as a hybrid, a worker for them to mine the planet for resources, which we're still doing. And that there were two specific species. Well, they were both Anunnaki, and the word Anunnaki actually is supposedly only means those who from heaven came down to earth. So it could have been different species. But there was one called Enlil, and he was the one that was really wanting to mine the planet for the resources, and the other one was Enki, who was interested in the human project and wanted to create a human being that was capable of a much higher consciousness. And you can see where the Garden of Eden comes in here, where Enki or Enlil says, after he's created humans to keep them in this Fertile Crescent area in the Middle East, and says to them, don't pay any attention to that other person or that other being in the garden, because that was Enki. He was going to manipulate them and created a new species that was capable of a much higher kind of a spiritual God awareness. Anyway, we that's where that whole story came in, and you can make all of these parallels between the old Bible, the Old Testament, and the Sumerian tablets. It's fascinating. What's his name that does a lot of books on this? Billy Carson talks about all of this. He's really fun to listen to. So yeah, I think they're here. I think it goes way back. We've only just begun to really start to put this massive puzzle together. So, yeah. But my question is, okay, now what? So they're here. Now what? What are we going to do? What do they want now?
Yeah. Well, a picture is starting to emerge for me from watching how, particularly seeming, well, just watching how this is unfolding, and really the propaganda that sort of you would get on Fox News right at this moment is very weird. And so it's giving me a sense there's like a super amount of nationalism on Fox News right now. It's like, value the United States. We've fought so hard to form this country. You know, we had people die to sanctify, to under God, to form this country, to make us who we are. And it was like, excuse me, it felt like this weird fear in there, like a genuine fear, like things could get so crazy that it could threaten literally their whole United States nationalism, control of people and the world. I mean, this could destabilize economies. And there's also a big thing on Fox about like saying that this is about our adversaries. Oh, well, actually, there's two weird threads that are coming up on Fox. There's one, some of the hosts and on News Nation and on, so mainly on News Nation. On the News Nation, they are like taking this very seriously, and they're saying this is not about the United States. This is about humanity. And it's weird to hear these newscasters say that they literally are saying the whistleblower is saying this is important for the future of humanity. If this is the case, that there's technology and people with technology this advanced, this could be weaponized to incredibly destructive power. It's for the future of humanity. We have to now think about this differently. And this is one weird sort of thought pathway that opened up for me yesterday about this, is that if the aliens reveal themselves and they say, yes, we have this super advanced technology, but we have never been willing to fully give it to you because you guys make bombs as big as you can and blow up each other every day. So we are never going to give you technology until you achieve world peace, where you are not blowing up each other every day. And maybe if the aliens came out and said that, it would create this weird world peace movement. We'd be to try to literally eliminate all war zones on Earth, maybe. I don't know. And just to get the aliens to fully embrace us, like it would be kind of like a planet being in the Star Trek universe, being told there's a federation. And if you guys stop being violent, you can participate in it. I don't know.
Yeah, I have a feeling that possibly, I mean, they've been here for, hundreds of thousands of years. I don't think, I think because it's new to us, we're kind of freaked out about it and we're going, oh, got to protect ourselves. But no, I think actually they've been here for a very long time. If they wanted to kill us, they would have just wiped us out. And maybe they have wiped us out a few times and we keep coming back. Um, I don't think that I just don't understand how anybody could be afraid of an invasion. I mean, they're already here. And if there's some kind of a dramatic invasion happening, I'm going to be very suspicious that it's just a red flag fear event. But what I do think is happening is I agree that they probably are giving us all this technology, and I think they have given us all of this internet connectivity because it's a way of looking into who we are now. So they have created a hybrid race, and every once in a while, every few generations or a couple thousand years or whatever, they pick the best of the crops and they continue on with their hybrid whatever experiment they're doing. And so I think what's happening right now is we're being sorted. We're being kind of sifted. If you have if you're starting a garden from nothing, you take shovels of dirt and you sift it through different size screens, and you can get the big rocks out, you get the sticks out. So you separate into piles, the big rocks, the smaller rocks, all the way down to fine sand. I think we're being categorized. We're being sorted into subject piles, and I have no idea why or for what purpose, but I think we need to stay away from fear. I think fear is not helpful whatsoever. I think what we, in my opinion, and I keep saying that this is my opinion. I don't want to mislead anybody. I just feel that fear is going to be not good because in those higher states of consciousness, they are higher state of consciousness beings, from my understanding. Death does not concern them. They're beyond all that. They know how to work the more finer ethers of reality. And they're trying to sort out the more violent types and see who's capable of really achieving higher consciousness. That's my theory.
Hmm. Okay, you've just given me a complete theoretical framework.
Great.
Okay, how about this? Well, what if it's the planet Nibiru,
Yeah.
and it's, and that would explain the cycle of, say, every 3,000 years. If their planet was near us, then that would increase alien interaction every 3,000 years. Maybe what their goal in the sorting is, they literally are going to try to convince the humans that they really want to come to their planet, maybe even to like steal our best and brightest minds and best hearts, most creative, and then they don't really care what happens to those that are left behind. And when the planet comes by, it causes massive tidal forces and tidal waves. It pretty much kills everyone that doesn't agree to go on their ships. So this would kind of fit with the biblical story of Revelation, saying eventually there's going to come a judgment day where you get either beamed up to the ship if you're good or not. And then and everybody that they leave here, is they're trying to only leave really the violent psychopaths here on Earth every time they do this. And they've done this every 3,000 years. And that's what basically has it's kind of like Earth is the Australia of the universe, or like an Australia petri dish where they like grow intelligent, thoughtful beings. They take them off the planet, and then they leave the worst of the crop here to just sort of get wiped out. And that's sort of what the reptilians, if those are, if the story of the reptilians is true, that they're reptilian aliens that have been here for hundreds of thousands of years before humans, maybe they are literally just what, like they're like the descendants of the first few crops of beings that they filter. They just keep leaving the worst toxic psycho beings here, and that's what this alien reptilian uh, group is somehow a descendants of. And maybe just like Australia, they actually, maybe they're, even though they were like the criminals that they didn't want, maybe they've evolved to a beautiful culture in some ways. I don't want to first say, I don't want to say I think reptilians are necessarily all evil. I've heard some bad things, but just any group of people, any group of beings, you know, you could live in a country that might have horrible laws and politics. It doesn't mean every member of that country agrees with the horrible laws and values that their government corporation proposes. So, anyways, that's my
Yeah. Yeah, I agree that the reptilians are, and a lot of this is just going on my own intuition and things I've read. I think there are good and bad reptilians. Of course, we hear mostly from the bad ones, but I do think there are very good ones here. I haven't quite figured out how all this genetic mixing and matching, how this all works together. But the reptilians, you see history symbologies in China and in India. I mean, they're all over the world, and in South America, these serpent gods who are claimed to have brought wisdom. And you see that in the Eden story, the serpent, the reptile that gives the knowledge. So it all ties together, and I think there are good ones and there are bad ones, and I think right now we're in a situation, and it depends on how you define good and bad. I think once you get into a higher realm, the good and the bad is harder to define. That non-judgmental mindset is something that we struggle with in this level. But yeah, I think they're manipulating everything. I think they're probably geneticists and scientists, and yeah, I don't know, it's speculation. But I don't think we really need to worry about it right now. I don't think they're harmful. I don't think they're here to, sneak in and kidnap us. I could be wrong. Who knows? I don't know.
yeah, that's a really good point to go into, because I think fear, like you said, is going to be an incredible temptation for people
Yeah.
to just become terrified. And I think one of the things I've found through all my research is was actually kind of spooky and weird once I really saw the pattern, was that it does not seem that the aliens do violence ever on humans. It seems in the history of the alien disclosure movement that the tactic used against whistleblowers like Bob Lazar and uh, others has always been pressure, like psychological, emotional, verbal pressure. But violence seems, as far as I can tell, never really happens. It seems forbidden to like touch a human. It seems to me that it's actually forbidden, almost like they're vampires. Like they can't even get into your house unless you invite them in. It seems there's a weird thing about. I think there's like some rules or laws in the universe that the aliens, perhaps they know that we are being watched by technology that you can't really, maybe they can't really get away with the type of things humans get away with when we want to hurt people, because the only reason humans ever hurt other humans in horrible ways is because they think they can get away with it. But if you knew you're actually being watched, everything's being recorded, you are going to be held accountable for evil, truly evil things you do, then like a kid being watched by the teacher, you would totally change your behavior. And I get the sense from the alien, from the stories I read, and the people that claim to have really communicated with these aliens, that that's kind of the case. Um, and there's and people like Christopher Mellon, he's like a really high up intelligence person who's been pushing this disclosure movement for several years with Lou Elizondo. Christopher Mellon was interviewed a year ago or a few months ago at a conference, and he said at first when he started to go public, he was afraid for his safety. He was like, if anyone should be killed to stop disclosure, he's like, it should be me. He's like, I clearly he knew he was powerful enough and big enough to really make something happen. And I was like, I wish someone had asked him more closely, why did you stop being afraid? What happened that made you suddenly be like, you know what? I'm not afraid at all for my safety anymore. From I could be killed for revealing the biggest secret in the history of humanity. Suddenly the fear went away. And I think it's because he found out something similar to what I'm saying, that they can't touch you. I think it's like illegal. Anyways, that's my,
Yeah.
yeah.
That kind of makes sense. I think they're being careful not to disrupt um, the status quo. But I do want to say that I do think that there's a whole spectrum here. I think that the evil ones or the evil people slash reptilian, whatever, I do believe that they're here and, maybe underground or something, and possibly pulling strings from some invisible place. So I don't want to say they don't exist, but I would say that they're, I guess, their aim is not to terrorize everybody. Probably a portion of the people to a degree. Maybe they feed off that energy. But I think for the most part, if people are living in their more compassionate heart, they have no these aliens have no interest in these darker aliens would have no interest in those kinds of energies, and that goes down some pretty dark rabbit holes. But I think it's all here, and it's just like quantum theory. Everything is possible, and it's where we put our attention and what kind of intention we have uh, when we look at it. So I think we're okay. Even if there's a big dramatic Hollywood show in the sky of alien invasion, I don't think we have anything to worry about on that front.
See, I don't think it's going to be. I mean, I think it just makes sense. We're just building up to a moment. Yes, there's going to be aliens in the sky, because I think you'll have to put ships in the sky over cities to actually make all of Earth take it seriously. But then I think there'd have to be a goal for what and the story of them wanting to get some people to agree to go with them, or at least there could be some aliens that want people to go with them, and there could be aliens here on Earth that want people not to go, and so they'd say it's an invasion. So we might have this really weird time of not even knowing, understanding what is going on. Um, it'd be kind of like Afghanistan after the U.S. pulled out, and it was like and people were trying to leave, and the Taliban was trying to force people to stay in, and it was but yeah, it could be looking for an alien version of that. That could happen.
Now that brings up something else that came up for me this morning with one of my clients. She got an astrological reading. She gets one every year, and this astrologer, she had been looking up in history, kind of going back. All the stars have cycling patterns that come around. So she was looking at the position of all the constellations, the zodiac signs, and seeing when in our history's past, has this configuration ever happened before. So she did the history. Yes, the configuration of astrological positioning right now is the same as it was in the 1450s. Now, of course, I had to run to Google and do my research, And it turns out that in 1450s, it was the last bit of the Roman Empire falling. It was Constantinople, which was the last part of the Roman Empire, and it was under siege by the Ottoman Empire, which took down the last of the Roman Empire. Uh, and I thought, oh boy. But and then for 3 years, everything was in chaos. And then out of all of that came the great Renaissance, all the great artworks and the philosophers. And so we are at a position right now historically where that kind of energy can be repeated, that we may come under siege. And I just don't believe it's going to come from outer space. I think that humans are kind of stirring the pot here, and I think the United States is under threat,
Huh.
but not from aliens. So interesting.
From what?
Well, there's all kinds of things going on. There's the manipulation of the economy, global economy. There's this whole Great Reset concept that's being dictated through the WHO and the World Economic Forum and the United Nations. And so there's a lot going on, and it's a bit precarious right now. So we might as well throw a alien invasion in on top of all the rest of it, because it's going to be chaotic.
Um, hmm. Have and I can cut this part out if you don't want it released, but have you ever seen an alien?
Well, I have seen. I would say yes, I've seen an alien. Now, um, I was little. I was about 7 years old, and I was in bed, and I woke up, and there was this thing standing in my doorway, um, and it was not a person. It looked like a praying mantis. So it scared the bejesus out of me.
How tall was it?
I'm going to say it was about 6 foot. I don't know. It was big enough to fit in the doorway. Might have been a little bit over 6 foot. Um, and for my whole life, I've pretty much tried to write that off as, my a dream or something. But I remember it very clearly, and I remember how it scared me. So I
And
think that was an alien. I've also had now, and also around that same time, I was having visions of something trying to always come through the ceiling to reach down and grab me. That could have just been kids' nightmare stuff, but that was happening a lot to me at that point in my life. Uh, and I did have a dream, and I can't. It has to be a dream. I can't believe that it was not a dream. I was outside, and I was like in a foxhole or something, peeking over, and there was a alien spaceship there. But I've convinced myself that that was a dream.
wait, describe the alien spaceship moment again.
Well, I was outside, and I was looking over a mound of dirt. It almost felt like I was in a hole, like a foxhole or something, peeking over. And I saw an alien spacecraft right there. And if I would guess, I would say I was probably maybe not even 100 feet away from it. So it wasn't right on top of me, but I could see it very clearly.
Can you describe what it looked like, basically?
Well, it kind of looked like one of these typical flying saucers. Um,
Any lights?
it was very metallic. It was a very kind of a soft brushed silver, with the way the light was on it. It looked soft. And that's all I remember. And we're going back a lot of years there, Matt.
Well, but those are really interesting experiences. And
Yeah.
I mean, a sighting of a praying mantis type alien, that is a story that you hear. There's four types of aliens that are seen in sightings in the history of ufology. The mantis insectoid ones are the least of the top four. That they're seen very rare.
Mm.
Um, so that's it. It's really, it throws a wrench in my trying to understand the whole, like, what is going on. Is if there's four different types of aliens, what are their different agendas? What are their roles, and why would they all be interacting with humans?
I tend to think that some aliens are here not because of the humans. I think this planet is incredibly diverse and interesting, uh, and I think any other species would be interested in the way this planet functions. You know, just checking out our our guts, our bacteria, our, you know, what kind of things are in this world that are fascinating. You know, I think we're full of alien scientists all around us, but
Yeah.
not necessarily for the humans.
Yeah. Well, it's starting to open the door to some other crazy theory threads that I'm sure we're going to go down.
Yeah.
Um, like, what is the relationship? I mean, if aliens have been or created humans, is it possible that different alien factions have favored different genetic pools of humans? Like they
Mm.
consider certain different humans their breeding stock, and maybe that's been a factor throughout history. Um, I mean, it's a disturbing thought that there might be different, like, uh, different genetic lines that are favored, but that's through history. That's what happened with the royals. You know, they were very trying to keep these genetic lines, and there's certainly a lot of history of people and groups trying to defend their race and genetic lines. Maybe that's
Yeah.
a reflection, or it has a relationship to some alien agenda about genetic lines.
Yeah, I agree that I think there is a genetic line that they want to keep as pure as possible, but I think possibly also they created several versions of what they are aiming for and seeing which ones are going to make the grade, if you know what I mean. Um, so if they created a whole bunch of races, uh, and then they go away for 3,000, 4,000 years and come back, they want to see which ones of these races are now capable of taking the next step towards higher consciousness. That's kind of the way I'm looking at it.
Yeah, interesting.
And when I say 3,000, they go away for 3,600 years. I get that from the Sumerian tablets. That's the work of Zachariah Sitchin, and he's talking about Nibiru, which has this cycle that goes outside our solar system and then cycles back around in towards our solar system every 3,600 years, and that's when they interact with us, when they get closer.
Yeah, I mean, even if they have anti-gravity, if their planet was much, much closer, it might just mean that could be a great time for them to transfer a lot of gold from our planet to theirs. So it might be
Right.
we're it's like we're entering the really big transactional phase. They'll be bringing humans and resources from our planet to theirs. And
Yeah. And that's right along with the Emerald tablets too. That says basically that that's exactly what they, well, Thoth was talking about, you know, getting in his aircraft and going above the earth, and then just as they're leaving, just to see the earth being demolished because from the floods.
wow,
Um, anyway, yeah, it will be interesting as these pieces come together.
yeah. Well, cool. Well, maybe we wrap up about there. I really appreciate you joining me for this conversation and agreeing to let us share a conversation about this with the world.
Yeah. Oh, real fun. This has been great, Matt. I really appreciate you having me on.
Awesome. All right. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
I'm
Bye.
Slipping away, don't believe it's coming back soon.